All right, welcome everybody to the NWO show, your source for everything New World. We have, of course, breaking news. And when I say breaking news, I mean absolutely breaking news in terms of this is as new as it gets.
I mean, I don't think it's the wealth transfers. I think it's this. Yes, this is it.
Yes. So we're gonna start with the absolute breaking news. Unfortunately, we were hoping for the drops tonight based on an email from the content creator program. However, the Twitch drop containing the Royal Fisher skin set mentioned in our previous emails will not be available today, November 16th, as they had originally planned. The skin set is tied to the Void Gauntlet update and other important game updates, and we're taking extra time to ensure that these updates are working properly before release. Stay tuned to our social media channels and creators for updated Twitch drop release date. So, basically, that means that we almost got the Void Gauntlet today. Almost.
So I imagine
it's that close, guys.
Yeah. So this skin set is basically going to drop. When the November update drops.
Yes.
I imagine that's what's going to be.
Yep.
That's the thing. Okay. Cool.
So that is great to see. I'm really happy that they ironed out a quick release to help us on that one. It's good stuff. I really appreciate Amazon Game Studios' ability to work and rapidly address issues. Like their communication really has been on point. And I'm excited for some of the stuff that's coming. So that was part of the breaking news. But as what other people may have known, and you probably noticed if you tried to log into the game recently, that we're currently on downtime. So
yes,
it's not an ideal time for downtime, but here's the reality. Everybody gets it at least once. And I think they're doing a decent job of splitting who gets hit by downtime, so that not everybody, not one time zone gets shafted all of the time every Tuesday. So
yeah. I mean that's a good thing. Like, we should all share the downtime, because if it's just if downtime is literally just for, to one time zone, it kind of sucks for that time zone. It's unfair to have them sort of having to deal with downtime every single time that they're wanting to play. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So to clarify something, new content is always good. That said, you can do both in terms of fixing the issues and fixing the bugs, as well as providing new content, which basically is what the current patch is. So for those that don't know, the current patch basically, servers are going to be up in about 55 minutes is when the end of their downtime is planned for. It's an approximate 3 hours, so it could be up anytime from there. No.
Mm-hmm.
My Amazon device has decided to go off in the other room. Jeff Bezos would like to know your location.
No. It's happening.
Well then, all good things, I promise. No, I'm just messing. So the reality is, it's going down for 3 hours. These things take time. Like, they actually do take time. You need to think about the sheer number of servers that you need to turn off, update with new software, clear the caches, reboot up, make sure everything's running properly and that there's no issues, then reconnect to your global servers for drawing a blank. Reconnect to your login servers so that you can actually connect to them, and then make them accessible. It's actually a surprisingly long process, and it is a surprisingly large amount of equipment. So, and if you think about it, these downtimes, one, don't happen very often. They've been doing about once a week. They don't have a daily downtime or anything like that, and it is a change in software which can take time. So, and of course it'll also improve as they get more experience with it, and it'll definitely get better over time. And that's, I think they've showcased that. I think they had one downtime that lasted like 11 hours. That obviously was a bad scenario, but I think they've found ways of not doing that.
I think all companies end up like having those random downtimes that last like way longer than they expected to. It was every blue, once in a blue moon, right? So.
So the servers are still going to be down for about the next 50 minutes. Basically for companies, basically what this is going to do is it's going to turn on the wealth transfer systems, but it's also going to fix the duplication issues. It's going to fix, a number of other back-end bugs that it's trying to fix, basically. They haven't released patch notes, but there is an additional comment that they made just before the show started. But as a note, before I move on to that, for companies whose settlements were downgraded due to wealth transfers being disabled, you can expect compensations in the upcoming November monthly release. Thank you for patience and understanding. 8 minutes ago, Alexandra. Hi everyone, we wanted to provide some additional clarification around the housing decorations. Players will be able to place housing decorations in their house, salvage housing decorations, put housing decorations in storage by picking up the furniture after it's been placed, purchase housing decorations from an existing trading post contract. Players will not be able to place buy orders for housing decorations on the trading post, trade housing decorations with another player, place housing decorations directly into storage, drop housing decorations on the floor, enter build mode for housing. So, interesting.
That yeah. I was wondering whether they were just going to be, setting like player housing kind of items to bind on pickup, so you couldn't trade them, you couldn't sort of sell them on the market. But like, there's definitely a few more features in there that goes beyond something like bind on pickup kind of mark on an item, right? So that is kind of new. That's new territory, such.
Yes.
Interesting.
So that's an interesting thing for them to do. You can still sell stuff. You can't place buy orders for it though. There's some interesting limitations. I think basically this is just designed to be a quick fix in the short term, which is what it is. As we wait for the bigger release that is on its way, and we know that there is a lot of stuff in development. We know at bare minimum, based on what we talked about a few minutes ago with the creator email, that it was tied to the Void Gauntlet. And of course, if they delayed the Void Gauntlet and the skin was supposed to be a drop for today, obviously that's a patch that is imminent at this point. So
yeah, that would be my read on it as well. I mean, that's one of the things is I believe even though the live servers are down, the PTR is still up, I believe. And the PTR does actually contain a lot of the stuff that is being tested and is being looked at for the November update. I'm literally just checking to see whether the severity of the queues on the PTR, because I imagine that's probably where a lot of people who still need their new world fix are going.
Absolutely. All right. So the PTR itself, obviously the PTR was announced last week. It's kind of a big deal. It's a relatively common thing for developers to do in terms of creating an opportunity for players to get involved in the testing and get involved in there's no water on the PTR. That's funny.
That might be a visual bug for you.
And basically, it enables people who would otherwise be bad actors, doing duplication issues on the live server, to find those issues in a test client and report them without disturbing the actual game itself. I personally think that that's one of the better approaches. And it's been a long-standing practice of most MMOs to have some kind of test server. So, yeah. Just to clarify for anyone in chat, we are not developers. We don't work for Amazon Game Studios. We are content creators who have in the past had sponsored streams by Amazon Game Studio. This is not a sponsored stream. This is just our regular Tuesday night content, and yeah. So basically, we got some good stuff. The PTR announcement last week was actually really big, and it was a lot bigger than most people thought it was. We went through and discussed almost everything in here on the show, but they announced the new weapon for the Void Gauntlet, new missions and mobs, enemy variety, new enemy quests, new legendary quests, improved storyline quest, PvP missions, new trading post experience, which is going to globalize the trading post and should decentralize the market from Everfall and Windsward, which I actually think is going to do a lot of favors to the lesser valuable territories, which in turn should also spread out the ownership of housing across the map better than everybody owns a house in either Everfall or Windsward. Also, you can totally kill Thorpe. It's the thing.
Sorry?
Like, you can totally kill Thorpe. Depths is not unbeatable.
Oh, right.
Get a couple of level 60s to help you through it. You do need a healer for that one. Like, a healer and a good tank.
Yeah.
Just saw that in chat, and I was like, gotta help him out on that one.
Okay.
So, there have been a number of challenges with the PTR. So going back on that, initially there were some pretty long queue times.
Oh yeah, I definitely heard a lot of frustration with the queue times, and also with the queue seemingly not to move at all, which I'm not sure whether that was just a bug or whether that was just down to the fact that some of the server worlds were like literally full and nobody was like moving, nobody was logging off, and so the queue was just like pretty stagnant or not. But like, yeah, I definitely heard a lot of people who were a little bit incensed by the situation.
Yes. So since then, they actually started up a few other servers to ensure that people have access and that they can get in, play the game, test it out, try out some of the new content, and of course provide feedback. So that's very much a thing that is important.
Oh yeah.
Also, yes, if you're in Murkguard, you can still bait Thorpe out of the chapel. Like, that's very much a thing. Takes a little work and the right angle, but you can do it. And yes, you can also beat him. You need a large group and a lot of healers, but you can beat him.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way to shoot him from outside. Just need a good fire staff user. Didn't hear that.
So
from me,
have you explored some of the content on the PTR yet? By the way,
I have. I tried out the Void Gauntlet. I actually think that I think it's going to be an interesting one to counterplay and actually complement the life staff.
I think if you're going heavily into the annihilation tree, the left-hand side tree, like I think it's a little bit strong. There's people who are saying like it's ridiculously strong. Like, yeah, I think to encourage people to adopt it and try it out and stuff like that, I think it should be a little bit should be strong, but it shouldn't be as strong as it is right now. Like, it's there's definitely some builds of it that when used properly, are like ludicrously good in terms of damage application. But yeah, like I think they should. I think AGS should look at the how those particular builds are kind of working, and see if they can't tweak it so it's not as powerful, but still, it still gives people a good feel of being able to use something like that in close quarters, because it may actually end up being a replacement for my Great Axe. I'm very interested in it for sure.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be an interesting one. I currently am in an Intel build, so it works perfectly with, works absolutely perfectly with our or with my current build. I think that the nerfs to fire and ice that are coming are definitely going to be. It's going to be welcome to have a stronger weapon that still is intelligence focused, because it's gonna be rough. Like, it's gonna be real rough for intelligence builds. For those that don't know, like right now, intelligence builds, you can deal for invasions. 5 million damage in an invasion is not uncommon for a high int build. It's actually pretty crazy. So I'm excited for that. Like I think that it is going to be a good weapon. I think that it's got abilities that are much needed, especially with the weaken and the kind of anti-healing that it does.
Yes, I mean that's going to be that is going to be kind of like a critical situation, a critical thing, especially in wars. Like in terms of especially when you're kind of struggling with taking points and trying to deal with a very strong point hold.
Absolutely. Yeah, the for anybody saying the Void Gauntlet is trash, like, have you not played on the PTR? Like, it's,
I kind of feel that
it's quite powerful.
If you're putting like all of your you're going heavily into the decayed tree and then trying to use it as as a one-on-one weapon, like it's not really going to work. Not going to work out for you.
Yeah, you need to purpose build and purpose spec your weapon for what you're doing. I can tell you that the devs definitely play more than just the Great Axe, guys. I can assure you that. Actually, at one point in time, we actually streamed content of us PvPing against some devs, and they used a variety.
I didn't see a single Great Axe in them. Actually, to be honest, I don't think a single one of them played Great Axe at all.
Yeah. Actually, one of them. Cowmaster beat me with rapier bow combo. That was back in the day when Amaran Expedition was just announced, and
you were using you were using the Ice Gauntlet at the time when it was horrendously overpowered.
Yep. Oh yeah.
He beat you with a bow and a and a rapier.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. That said, I beat him like 6 other times, so like,
yeah, true.
So, but since then, we've also had a dev blog, and I want to talk about this Issues 2 dev blog, because it's actually pretty big. Like this is kind of,
it's dense. It's there's a lot in it.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about in here. I want to be. I was really excited when I heard Muggsy was putting together and the community team was putting together these current issues type documents where they're kind of highlighting, hey, here's the top line issues that we're seeing a lot of people have a problem with, clarifying where they stand on them and clarifying where they want to go with them. And I think that that's really actually quite important.
Honestly, having experienced, what I could only define as bad communication with a player base, like comparing and contrasting Amazon Games' kind of, communication with the player base, especially, creating things like these particular blogs, it's actually really, really useful because it gives you a good sense of, what the mindset is of Amazon Games as a company when it comes to, looking at various different aspects of the game, which is like really useful. Like it's really good to be able to gauge whether, whether you feel that they're on the right track, from a issues and sort of, from an issues and features sort of standpoint. It's really good. It's really useful.
Yep. So, by the way, looks like AP Southeast, EU Central, SA East, and US West are online, and US East appears to be still under maintenance. So, soon.
Oh. Uh-huh. Nice.
Yep. So figured I'd quick show that because somebody mentioned it in chat. So that's good news. Go get playing the game. But yeah, let's talk about this current issues blog here because this is issue dense and a lot of different topics to discuss here. So
yes.
For those that don't know, server transfers is still a problem. Some people had problems where, market orders were kind of like phantoms stuck on the market. There was a lot of edge cases where people could not transfer off of the server that they were on, and this caused all kinds of different problems. Hopefully they can resolve this so that people can just play on the servers they want to play on with their friends, and there'd be no more problems. We can hope. The other side of this is the regional transfers. So regional transfers are when you're moving not just from we're on Paralis and we want to move to Valhalla. There's a difference there. That's a regular server transfer. The regional transfer is when you're moving from US West to US East, or US East to Asia Pacific, or wherever you want to move to. Literally a different physical server location, which is a huge challenge that of course they are actually trying to resolve. Additionally, they're actually asking people to go to a specific post, which is gauging interest on regional server transfers, and we're not going to scroll down because I don't want to show the people, but there are 614 replies to this. And, basically it's asking, would you be using cross-region yourself? From which region to which region? Would you want us to spend more time on a polished user experience or emphasize speed of delivery? Basically, how do you want us to go about this? So, yeah. So it's kind of a good one.
I think it's good because I don't think there's a ton and a half of people who want to do, cross-regional transfers, but gauging the amount and gauging sort of the opinions of those people are probably the best way to be able to deliver, what would be the majority opinion of, how they want that service. And it's good.
Exactly. And it is a service that I don't think they were anticipating actually offering, because I think their Twitter handle accidentally said, yeah, just find a server and we'll fix it later. Pick a different region, and that wasn't the best advice because it kind of put them in a corner of okay, now we have to do it. And it is good that it will be a thing, but it is definitely a substantially more difficult challenge to overcome, coding wise.
Yeah, they did unfortunately paint themselves into a corner, but getting a good idea as to how much dev time they feel that they need to sink into it in order to help the people who are kind of afflicted by this is the best way to go. Like, you don't need to spend an absolute ton of dev hours, like, polishing up the experience if the people who are, the majority of people who want to use it aren't really looking for a polished experience. They just want to get it done, right? So
yeah, and you got to remember, like, the people that chose other servers at launch were doing it purely to get away from massive queue times. And there was a point in time where the US East servers were so full that every server had a queue time. That was only a couple of days, but it happened, and yeah. So I'm gonna say this again, and for like the fifth time during this show, we are not devs. We do not work for Amazon Game Studio. We are supported by Amazon Game Studio. This is not a sponsored stream. This is just our regular Tuesday night content that we do every Tuesday night, starting at 6 o'clock Eastern Time and running until whenever we run out of content to cover. If you're interested in more content like this, feel free to check out our YouTube page or our Twitter, and feel free to join the Discord, as we post a lot of things in there. For instance, if you sub, oftentimes you'll get content drops of things that we find out about ahead of time through various means, mostly data mining and other things, where we'll just, hey, here's a thing we know about, and drop some cool stuff for you.
You might want to know about. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That said, we have been around the community for a very long time, and we enjoy making content around New World. So, with they're attempting to practice these merges with the public test realm, which means they need people to help them. They need people to ensure that things are not going wonky in the transfer. Basically, this is kind of a big deal. When a server becomes too small, it doesn't become feasible. Like, the player population drops so far that it's just too little. Too few people. You don't run into enough people. It's not very active. You start having problems where, like, even at the level 60 content, you start running out of people to play Outpost Rush with. And it doesn't proc very often, and then you're waiting only for prime times, and then even then you might be waiting a while to actually get into a match. This isn't the way it's designed to be. So this means what they're going to do is start doing server merges. These server merges will take two servers, smash them together, and one server will maintain their ownership of the territories, and the other one will be reimbursed for the cost of the upgrades on their territory. So basically, if you get merged in, for instance, if we got merged into another server, I would absolutely love it, because we would get all of the money that we've spent on Cutlass Keys back, and we can get rid of a god-awful territory that makes no money. Had to be said.
Oh, please.
That said, with the new global to the server trading post, it might actually start making money. So worlds are merged within a world set. So basically, we're on a world set with 4 servers. Of those 4 servers, it's going to merge those 4 servers together, or any 2 of those servers together. If all 4 of them are small, they could theoretically merge all of them together. And then use the added space on that server, or on that world set, to start up a new server if they wanted. So there are some with 4, some with 5, 6, 7. I think one of them might even have 10. I forget. But yeah, basically, this is the inevitability, and this is how they're going to keep the game interesting in terms of player density, because obviously right now the experience is not what they're aiming for on many servers. They want there to be more people. They want it to hover around that 2,000 players online at one time, so that things feel busy. They feel exciting. You have groups to join. There's constantly groups trying to ask for various different things. Hey, I need a group to go run the depths, or I need a group to go run this. If there's nobody online doing that, the opportunities aren't nearly as abundant, and they want those opportunities to be out there. So there is a lot of nuance to these merges. Once they've identified a world as a candidate for a merge, they compare it to the existing worlds by reviewing elements like faction representation and overall population in the set to find the most optimal partner world. Basically, if you have, two worlds that have massive covenant populations, they're probably not going to merge those two together. For instance, we're currently winning, Covenant is currently winning on our server with, I think we're up to like 7 territories, despite our best efforts. We did really try to lose that war until we actually started fighting, and then, we accidentally
it's one of those things. It kind of, I mean, it does kind of sound false, but like, it was one of those situations where we were like, we kind of forgot that we were wanting to lose the war, and we just decided got kind of in the moment having fun, and forgot about the fact that like, oh right, yeah, we were actually going to try and lose this. And at that point, it was I think when we kind of gathered our senses on that one, it was like 2 minutes to go, and they hadn't taken any points at that particular point, and I was like, right, okay, this is probably not going to go the way that we hoped it was going to go. Oh well.
Yeah. Now that said, it's going to be interesting to see. They're going to merge a bunch of these servers together. It's going to take time, and my hope is that they do it right and that there's no issues.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a bit of
hope.
terminology around, the server mergers and stuff like that, which I think we should potentially go through, just so everybody is like sure when it comes time to, or when it comes to the time that Amazon is merging servers, and you get notified about it, like. They basically describe the two servers as either a partner server or a what was it?
So one is identified. So if World X is confirmed as a merge candidate, then World Y is identified as a partner world. Players on World Y are not impacted, other than an influx of players on the world. World Y territory ownership persists after the merge. Companies are compensated 50k coin, which is 3.3 times the cost of war, for loss of territory ownership due to world merge. So pretty solid.
So it's kind of a little bit awkward, because like their sort of their example is gets a little bit confusing when they're going server Y, server X, server X, server Y, etc., etc. Basically, if your server is deemed a candidate server, then what that means is that your server is going to be merged into another server, and your server is going to not exist anymore. In that kind of sense, everything that is on your server is going to basically stay, like all of your stuff, all of your market orders, all that kind of stuff. The only thing that isn't going to stay is the territories. And if you own a territory as a company, then you're going to get reimbursed 50k coin for those territories.
Yes.
If you get notified that your server is going to be as a partner server to be merged, then all the territories are staying the same. Everything that is on the server is staying the same. You're just going to get a sudden influx of players. That's how I kind of
Now I think it's interesting. The 50k coin is actually an interesting number. So for those that don't know, it's somewhere in the ballpark of about 80% of wars the defense wins. So giving 3 opportunities is giving you a pretty solid chance money-wise to earn enough money or earn, to actually win a war. Having won all of the wars that I've personally declared, I think you really only need one, but that's just me. Defense does definitely have it a lot easier, just putting it that way.
Unless you change all of the turret hard points to T1 ballistas, in which case that makes it a little bit more difficult.
It does. So okay, basically server merges are on the horizon. They're coming. Expect to start seeing that once that they're sure that the process doesn't have any bugs. Because like worst case scenario here is that they try and server merge and data is lost, i.e. your character data is lost in the transfer. That would be a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
Truly a bad thing if that happened. So yeah. Wars can't be declared issue. That's, we're going to skip over that one. We're going to talk about luck.
Yes.
So luck is an interesting mechanic in itself, and it's not oftentimes what people think that it is.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why it's a little bit more convoluted than people initially seem is, in fact, it's actually two systems.
Yes. So there's two ways that they interpret luck. An overall scale that you can think of as a ratio of when things occur, or a percentage chance to occur. Or as a relative scale that has movable odds ranged based on other values we add into it. So apparently US East is up now. So super.
Nice.
Good to hear. So this is kind of an important thing. How often things occur, or the chance to occur. So if you equate this out to wearing luck gear is roughly the equivalent of increasing the chance of items to drop. Simply put, yeah, I saw that one too.
It's all good, bro.
Yep. Simply put, it's increasing the chance for items to drop, or more rare items to potentially drop. So let's say that without luck gear, there is a chance for an item to never drop. It is on the loot table, but its chances are just non-existent. But while wearing a full luck gear set, it is now possible to drop. That is kind of how some like the super high-end stuff like Fey Iron and stuff like that are very rare drops, but if you have the right luck gear on and that, it can increase the chance rate for that to occur. Now, what it doesn't do is it does not increase your chance to get higher gear score rolls or roll more perks. It does increase your chances of seeing items drop that have higher chances of rolling bonuses.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange system, but basically here's the way to look at this, especially for level 60s, and I'm going to put this in the context of level 60s because that's where most people are using luck gear anyways. If you're using luck gear, you are increasing the chance of gear to drop. So by more gear dropping, you are arguably increasing the opportunity for your watermark to change more frequently. However, by wearing luck, it does not change the chance rate of that item when it drops to be, related to your watermark, related to increasing watermark. It is just increasing the drop chance of items. So it's a strange distinction, but it's a really important one. When it comes to PvP, I think 99% of people just aren't running luck. You shouldn't really be running luck if you're running PvP. On the PvE side, if you're grinding your watermark, I personally think it is worth having it, because having more opportunities, more individual here's a good way of describing it. Buying lottery tickets, or buying like scratch offs.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good one.
You have one scratch off with no luck gear. You have one scratch off. You scratch it off. You either won or you lost. Okay, lost. Okay, whatever. Well, with luck gear, now you're getting 2 or 3 each time, and now you're getting more chances at potentially winning, but the individual chance is the same on each card.
Yeah, and the jackpot hasn't increased in price in any way, shape, or form just because you bought 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's the mansplain order show. I appreciate that one. Yeah,
you got us.
So that's luck for you guys. They've got a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cover everything that they talk about in here, because like that's kind of the luck section. Like, there's a lot there.
People who are confused as to why luck is like done in sort of 1,000 points kind of scale rather than a percentage scale. Like, read that section. It does make more sense. Like, there is they do describe why. Absolutely.
So,
but there's a lot to go through.
Yes. So let's talk about incentivizing players to join the less dominant faction. So right now we're on a server that has 7 of the territories owned by Covenant. We accidentally won a war.
We accidentally won one.
Won 2 wars that we weren't supposed to win at all. So
not sure how that happened, but yeah, it happened.
So now, looking at the other sides, you've got Syndicate has 2 territories, and Marauders has also 2 territories now.
Yeah. So it's 7 to 2 to 2, basically.
Yeah. So how do you incentivize players to not join Covenant? Because now you're asking them to join the side that's going to have a larger Azov cost, a larger, their tax rates could potentially be, be a challenge. It's not an overly comfortable thing to come into a server and be like, hey, yeah, I want to join the other side. That said, if you're in Marauders or you're in Syndicate, please join Paralysis. Please consider joining our server. We like having enemies.
The funny thing is the history of the Paralysis server in terms of the its territory control is kind of interesting, because when we kind of came into the server, it was strange, because we were all suffering as everyone else was with server queue times and this, that, and the other, and we as a group kind of decided that we weren't going to stay on the server that we'd gotten a few people on playing, because the majority of us were still in queues. And we decided that we were all going to come off that server, go to a server that didn't actually have that many queues, which was Paralysis at the time. We went into there, and nobody had actually taken any territory at that particular point, which was kind of strange, because, we were on a server that, the few people who we did have playing were on a server, and, stuff had been bought up already. So we kind of came in there, and it was still, fairly sort of virgin territory as such. We were able to grab a fair amount of territories, but very quickly after that, I think it was Marauders just basically started sweeping across the actual the territory and taking a large amount of it, and it's only kind of somewhat recently-ish that we actually have flipped that over to being 7 for Covenant and 2 for the other respective ones. So it's kind of interesting. We kind of expect that there's going to be some fight back and some renewed vigor from the other kind of groups there, from the other factions. It's just a case of when's that going to come, and we really hope that that's going to come, because it's going to be a fun time. But
Absolutely.
like, the thing is, how do you incentivize players to make sure that they don't just, you know, join the dominant faction? And yeah.
Yes. So now, when they run PvP missions, one of these incentives is that they can affect the influence bar in a territory much more rapidly than the defense can if they're attacking the overdog. The underdog bonus basically allows them to turn in a mission that's worth, you know, a couple times what the overdog says. Basically ensuring that like a war eventually is going to happen. You know, it personally, I think it's a great idea. I think it's, you know, this is a good way to ensure that, hey, if you get a company that comes in and goes, hey, we want to actually make a good run at this, they could actually own a territory. And once you own a territory, an important statistic to know is that more than 80% of wars are won by the defense. So if you are able to win a war, you can probably hold it for a while. God knows, probably longer than you should, like us and Cutlass Keys, despite our best efforts. Also, Cutlass Keys has very terrible mission loops. Please fix. Servers are back up, by the way, for people who are wondering. So, they're also going to be reducing the time for switching between factions from 120 days to 60 days. I know many people, even in our own server, are considering switching factions just to ensure that things stay balanced. Because a balanced server is actually more important than owning all territory. Because if you own all the territory, you lose out on a lot of the content. You know, people just stop playing the other ones, and that means the only time you're actually getting PvP content, the only time you're actually getting PvP content then is Outpost Rush, which is great, but you know, has its own problems.
Yeah. I would like to add like the last little bit at the end of talking about incentivizing players to not join the dominant kind of faction is, you know, they're still Amazon Games are actually looking for feedback on what you feel would be a good incentive to not join a dominant faction. So if you have feedback, if you have ideas, if you have experience and thoughts on the matter, then, you know, let them know in the forums.
Yeah, absolutely. And they really are and have been very open to feedback. And yeah, like, you know, I think that's huge, actually.
That almost makes sense. Like Jesus Saves Us saying more luck for the underdog. That almost makes sense, you know, because, you know, it's all about luck when you're an underdog, right? Like, you know, you want that, you're looking for that lucky break. Right? Yeah, makes sense.
Absolutely. So let's talk about exploits now.
Yes.
Exploits. Everyone hates them. When does it become an exploit? When does it, you know, how far is too far? Because, like, there was a time, you know, the first, I've said this a number of times, the money has been taken out of our company account. It never left our company account. But the last time that they canceled all of the item transfers and wealth transfers, there was a problem where if you tried to start a territory upgrade and logged out at, like, you know, 5-10 minutes later and logged back in, you had the value of that upgrade added to your account. We accidentally did this, managed to accrue about 20k in the process because we're putting in 2 T5 upgrades that failed. We reported this and went, hey, you know, like, take the money from us. We don't want it. It's obviously not good, but this is how we did it. You know, turned around and nobody was banned for it. The money's gone out of our account. So I'm, you know, I'm very happy with how they have been addressing a lot of the duplication exploits and stuff like that, because they do seem to actually be interested in banning people that are exploiting past a certain extent, where it's no longer, hey, we found a bug, like, and this bug has caused a problem. It's now, hey, if you duped 500,000 gold, no shit, you're exploiting. Like, but where they draw the line is obviously not 500,000. They draw it in a much more reasonable way. But basically, they have no issue banning people for exploiting. And in another post, they actually posted that they've banned many people from this. I'm going to bring up the actual dev blog on that topic.
Yeah, because they did have a separate dev blog about it, and they gave us numbers about, like, what happened.
So, bad actors discovered through packet manipulation a bug that allowed players to duplicate in-game coin and resources. A similar attack against a different game system was also recently used in housing. Together, for these exploits, we have permanently banned over 1,200 players, removing their items from the economy and canceling their trade post listings. We took decisive action against obvious bad actors, with the first passed on November 2nd, permanently banning accounts of the most egregious offenders, which eliminated over 80% of the duped coins and items from the economy. So that is a sizable amount of stuff to recover. Yes, that does mean that 20% of it is still out there, but they're obviously still in the process of clearing that stuff out.
I think it's it's explained a little bit further down, but yeah.
The remaining duped items have continued to hurt many players' experience. It didn't affect all players or all worlds equally, and also more significantly impacted players who were pursuing endgame goals and gear. We apologize for the impact that this has had on some of our most dedicated players. It's disheartening to see others cheat to obtain what you have worked so hard to achieve, while also hurting the economy in the process. It has taken us time to unravel and identify where the items and coin landed. As of November 15th, we're glad to report that we have permanently banned 460 additional players from either the original trade or new housing exploits. By doing so, we were able to remove 98% of the remaining duped items and coin in the game. The small amount of duped items that remain were a result of players who stumbled upon the duping issue but did not take exploitive action and will not be banned. So, we've investigated how these duped items have impacted the game progression. Our investigation has not shown a significant uptick of max level gear. The below chart shows the number of items, the number of players with even a single piece of max level gear was quite low when we did a specific deep dive into Voidbent armor, and while some of the armor was duped, much of it was removed from the game through bans. And this is still a very rare item. We're still examining the narrower list with items removed from the economy, removed from the housing. With narrower list with items involved in the housing exploit, and there will be further permanent bans there as appropriate. So
the interesting thing is, like, and I think a lot of people kind of sort of wonder about that whole kind of thing of, like, Voidbent armor being a very rare item still. Like, I'm sure, and I know a lot of people who have Voidbent armor or wear Voidbent armor. Like, you have to understand that, like, they look at this from a numbers perspective, not from a sort of, like, you bumping into that item or someone wearing that item, like, day in, day out. Like, they talk about rare as with regards to all of the various different armor out there that people have in, like, that they're wearing, that they have in various different storage, and then based on all the 60s and everyone from 60 all the way down to level 1, that sort of, or level like all the way down to, like, starters, and all of that kind of stuff. So when they say ultra rare, they mean that in the context of the entirety of the game, not just those people like us who are level 60 and have friends who wear void bents and we bump into them all the time. So just so you guys understand.
Now the other thing to keep in mind is that not all players exploit. Like, yes, there can be times where many people do, but not all players exploit. So the numbers seen here in terms of how many people they've stated that they've banned is actually pretty substantial. The majority of people, and literally, like, I know I'm going to get flack for this, but 90+% of people out there don't engage in Twitch, don't engage in Reddit, don't engage on the forums, don't engage in anything other than their play session, and maybe the people on their Discord.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the player base is likely completely unaware, other than when one of these major announcements of the wealth transfers being taken down, that anything has even happened. Additionally, just because a player has all level 600 or all gear score 600 equipment, a full void bent set, does not mean that they exploited to get it. You can grind there yourself. You can get that. You can afford that. You can buy it from other people. It is not something that is super rare. You can still achieve it. So there is an obvious difference there. And I think everybody likes to think that oh hey, everybody was doing it. Not everybody was doing it. If everybody was doing it, we would see a lot more bans, and they're not going to be coy about everybody doing it. They make money based on versions of the game sold, not subscriptions. So they have actually an economic incentive to ban people permanently for doing this. Like, just throwing that out there in case anybody doesn't understand the math on that part of the business side of this. There is an economic incentive for them to kill off all of the exploiters because they will get more money by doing that.
Yeah, there was definitely a cold logic there, to be honest. Yeah.
And of course, those people then have to grind back up to 60, which means they're going to put in a lot more time into the game and blah blah blah. And yeah. So, needless to say, I think that the number of people that they're talking about, the number of people that they're talking about, 1,200 plus an additional 460, that's a lot of people, guys. Like, yeah, it's not the majority of the player base, but the majority of the player base was just playing the game. The majority of the player base are not the people who are going to go in and sit there and go, but what happens if I take down the, what happens if I put the client in a windowed mode, just kind of shimmy it? Like 99% of the player base are never going to touch that. They're never going to even know that existed. Yeah. So. Now, the thing is, in terms of people who exploit at a large level, this is probably pretty close to what was there. And it's really easy to see from a database perspective when duplications happen. Like, it's real easy to find, because items will have incorrect start dates and incorrect generation points and all kinds of stuff. Like, it's real easy to find, guys.
Yeah,
So,
and even if you transfer, even if you move those items through the trading post, like they still keep their item IDs. You can still track them from this person to that person through that trading post, to that original person to So yeah, it's a little easier than you may think.
Exactly. Exactly. So, continuing with the last bit of what they said, we're working to improve our response time and will remain vigilant against players who violate our terms of service. Exploits will not be tolerated, and penalties can and will include permanent bans for those players using them. Our team is working tirelessly to continue our investigations and preventing future dupes from happening by correcting or replacing game systems that can be attacked. Please continue to report any issues that you see, and we will continue to take immediate action. A big thank you goes out to the community members for bringing this to our attention as well. We appreciate all the information you provide and keeping us safe, blah, blah, blah. So, basically, keep reporting stuff. They are listening. Like, the time in between the duplication bug being found for this and the wealth transfers coming down was actually really short. Like, because you can see it because somebody posted on the forums. It surprisingly short amount of time. I'm really happy with that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What is the next part to this?
Alright, so the next one, quest and quest design.
Oh,
so
yes,
obviously there's a lot of repetitive quests.
This was pretty big.
Yes, there are a lot of repetitive quests, and they want to change that up. They want to add in new task types, integrating into existing quests, but also the main storyline. These are going to include wave events, destructible objects, and even some light traversal mechanics. So basically, it's no longer going to be go to this area, loot out of 8 boxes, and then go do the next thing.
Go here, kill this person, or go
here, kill 10 of these people,
and pick up these things that they drop, sort of thing. It's going to be, I mean, yeah, there's going to be a bunch of things like I think traversing kind of terrain quests and stuff like that. Like that to me, that sounds very much like, like race quests, like. Of some form, which will be interesting.
If you guys win that invasion without me, I'm going to be real upset. Yeah. So they're also going to fix a lot of really painful mobs out there, like the Well Guardian. For anybody that's gotten to that point in the storyline, the Well Guardian is a pain. Yes, he's like, simply put, you have to have a group of 5-6 people. You're not soloing that. It's not happening. Like, he's comically strong. He's got a comical amount of health. And you're blighted the entire time. So Jesus. Like, you just hate life the entire time you're in that thing. They're going to adjust that so that it has an appropriate difficulty. Thank God. I remember sitting there trying to grind on that for like probably a day. Like just like going in there with groups that just continually failed at it. And like constantly going south to go get new blight potions and just it was so bad. And the worst part is that you can't call other people who aren't at that point in the quest line to actually help you. It has to be people who are doing the quest at that time and haven't turned it in. So it was that was a very annoying one. I'm really happy that they're going to fix that. They're adding new quests and new quest givers spread across the existing zones, closer to the locations they're asking players to visit. Thank God.
I think everybody
accepting a quest and then running 2.5 kilometers to do it and then turn around.
Another 2.5, yeah.
Will we ever be able to queue for, okay, this is actually a really important question here. Will we ever be able to queue for Outpost Rush away from a town? I doubt it, but you can do it in any town. So like you can use your in recall and do it in whatever town. Like, that said, I do think it should be something you should be able to queue up for just about anywhere. I like that question.
Yeah, I think you definitely should be able to. It'll definitely increase the amount of people, like available people.
I actually think you should be able to get into the menu to see what things cost for the faction remotely. And I think that might be a thing. You'd like not be able to buy it until you get back to town, but actually be able to see what stuff's worth. So like, how many more coins do I need to grind and that kind of thing. I think that'd be a good way to do that.
Be interesting. But that might be interesting.
Yeah. Some quest gating improvements to allow for more optimized travel times. Interesting. On the topic of travel times, something popped earlier today.
Yes.
That McLeod found.
I was playing around. I was playing around on the public test realm, and noticed that when I was running on roads, you actually get a speed buff on roads.
Yeah. So that is actually a really cool thing to see added. That's been a request since before I remember, is to have a speed buff on roads. Now, I can see that being really, really good in the long term.
Now, what that says to me, alongside, that's a nice buff, thank you very much, Amazon Games. What that says to me is, from a game logic standpoint, they're determining where roads are. They're determining, what area of terrain roads are, and they're determining that those are roads. So to me, that kind of says that they are kind of they're sort of setting up the various different pieces, bits and pieces that you may actually need for say auto pathing when it comes to mounts being implemented in the game. So and potentially an auto run feature as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean we already have auto run, but we don't have auto pathing. But it could very well be something that might come into the game at some point. Like, I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that, like, the foundations for something like that feels like it's being slowly implemented.
Absolutely. I think that would,
cool.
I like the direction that's going. It's got a lot of opportunity. They're also adding in entirely new storylines. So the Varangian Knights storyline is going to be coming in. Right? And I believe we covered this before, but they're somewhat tied to the Romans. So, which dovetails into something that we'll talk about towards the end, where we've gained some knowledge about Brimstone. Oh,
you said that completely wrong.
Brimstone stands. Yes, words are hard. Like, I don't. So here's the thing. I went through like 6 hours worth of straight meetings today. So like my like entire context of talking is just screwed at this point. Like,
you said Varangian, right? First time.
Yeah, which is a surprise because last time I called him like Varangian.
I'm unsure whether it's Varangian or Varangian, so I think the jury's out on that one.
So either way, I think that's kind of a cool thing. They're adding in some new and improved quests in the higher level zones, so the end game content's going to get a little bit better. Additionally, they're adding in trade skill quests. So advancing skills like mining, leatherworking, cooking will unlock new quests at various thresholds. Quest giver will give these Quest givers for these will be located in new camps and outposts spread throughout Turnham. And along with new skill-related storylines, they'll offer special skill-enhancing rewards. So that's great. Weapon mastery quest. New expeditions and features. This is going to come into play as well later when we talk about some of the stuff that we've found. And by we found, I mean has been brought to our attention by other people who have found it. As that's like the story of my life is being told stuff by other people.
Yep.
So, new expeditions and features. New expeditions and features released in coming months will also introduce new stories and quests to accompany them. These quests will incorporate all of the new dynamics we've developed in recent months and create a much more varied quest experience across the game. We hope these goals and this direction are as inspiring for you as they are for us. We continue to welcome your feedback and input as we go forward. This is just the foundation for what's to come. Now, we know that there are more expeditions coming. Let me, if I'm not the first person to show you this, then
what are you going to show the maze?
So, now, we have no news on when any of these are coming. However, these have been found in game files. So, spoiler alert. There are 6 expeditions in works. There is also a system surrounding mutations, 4 expeditions that appears to make them more difficult. That said, we don't have any news on when these are going to be added, but this is likely what they're talking about. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited to see where these go, because there's a lot of really cool ones. We know that obviously the last one in Brimstone Sands, the Anod, is going to be a big one. Yes, for those that don't know, Brimstone Sands is the area that is immediately above Ebonskill Reach. Now, because we're going down this little rabbit hole, we might as well go all the way down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now we're gonna go deep down that rabbit hole here.
Like, and this isn't a random, artist representation of what Brimstone Sands could be. That, this is actually something from Amazon Game. Now,
I realize that these are low quality images. However, they've been scraped from files, and I feel like people need to see these. This is obviously the settlement. It's obviously the fort in the desert.
No.
And that should look familiar as a spirit shrine.
Very much.
And so there's also a handy site called tournamentadventure.com that has a number of things in it, which includes some of these files, along with many others. Wow, okay. That's like super tiny. Many of these files showcasing things like a large scorpion, another large scorpion, the inverted pyramid. I know these are super tiny, so, here's what I'm gonna do. There's the link. Have fun.
Oh, yeah.
There are a ton of things that they've been able to pull out of this. For instance, a new resource. Sand. There's coarse sand, fine sand, silty sand, and charged sand. So that might be yet another thing that we need to level up.
In before creating sandpaper, maybe?
Ooh. That would actually be kind of nice. So
I don't
there's
know.
obviously a lot of code that they
idea.
have on this site as well. There is
a
hint at a winter village map image, but that's likely a like holiday time frame type thing that that has been put in there. Winter event icons. So you guys can have some fun with that. There's a ton of stuff on this site. I have played on the test server, yes, and so has McLeod.
Yep, a little bit, not extensively.
So, but let's talk about. Let's dive back into the dev blog here, because there's a lot here too. Representation and character customization and design. So from the beginning, this has been people's complaints. I want to be able to customize my character. I want to be able to have more faces. I want to have, you know, more unique me in game. I agree. Fundamentally, I agree. And so does the devs.
There does seem to be an increase in the amount of customization that you can sort of like choose from in the PTR. There's definitely some, you know, so there's some good options there. I think they definitely have a way to go to getting like a whole bunch of customization, but I think it's one of those things that they're just going to be adding bits and bits and bits over and over and over for a long period of time. So yeah, it's going to be all right.
Absolutely. So fundamentally, I'm not going to read word for word on this, but the gist of it is they agree there needs to be more customization in it. And I think that is an important thing for the game. Back in the day, I used to play a lot of Warframe. And you know, anybody who's played Warframe understands the concept of fashion frame, where the end game basically becomes how to min-max, but also like look good while doing what you're doing. You know, so it becomes all about like, how do you look great doing what you're doing? Personally, when it comes to character customizations, I would really like to see the ability to dye skins. Because there are some skins really that like look really cool, but just have really bad colors. Like,
yeah, and they would look good if they had different colors, and it would be cool if you could screw around with those colors. Like, so I know this is probably a bad idea because it's probably going to trigger a few people out there with, you know, this is a terrible idea, but I kind of like the idea of like dyes going onto skins and stuff like that, like slowly losing color and like fading out, and having to basically rebuy sort of dyes to reapply to them. Obviously, what I mean there is, you know, when you buy a dye for a skin, you get a whole bunch of dyes, not just 1 or 5 or whatever it is. You get like, say, you know, 50 or 100, right? Each time you buy, you know, a single dye. And for those dyes not to actually cost much at all, because what I kind of feel there is, you know, you would have to sort of slowly you'd want to like reapply those dyes every so often, and it ends up being with this, you know, literally it will end up becoming like a microtransaction to some degree, you know, say for some premium dyes, but like, you know, the dyes that you can go out into the world and actually create yourself would be pretty cool, because it would be a constant consumable. But the other kind of thing that I thought was really, really, really cool, which, who was it who said it in chat? Falling Down said it would be really cool if you could actually have an option to change hairstyles and stuff like that, which I really think like would be good. Like if you had an ability to recustomize your character, and obviously you couldn't change massive things of your character, but like certain options you can change, like for example, as you said, you know, hairstyles. That'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. You know, there should be consistent ways of changing out who you are and changing your appearance in game. Yeah. It you know, in terms of priorities, it's probably not a super high priority, but I think it should be something that they work on over time. That said, obviously, like, your art team is different than the guys who are working on bugs and stuff like that. So you can do more than one. So in the interest of keeping this moving, we do actually have a lot more to cover.
There was a lot
as these shows continue to be long, because we only do them once a week, and by the time we get to it, there's like 5 dev blogs and yeah.
It's funny when we start like this, we start going like, oh, okay, so what's going to be on the show? Like, be on the show this week, and we kind of go like, well, there was a few things and stuff, and then we kind of start getting into it and like breaking it down. Like, yeah, there's actually quite a lot here to actually cover for this week. Well. Yeah. Anyway, let's carry on. Let's
all right,
move on.
So, for those that have watched the show the last few weeks here, this has been a consistent topic. The minimap. There is currently no minimap in the game. However, there are external services that offer a minimap. Overwolf is one of them. Yeah. That said, there are several things within those minimaps that breach the terms of service, depending on the version you use.
Yes.
This is comical. How like this keeps coming up.
How many times they have to say this?
Yeah.
How many times they have to reiterate this point?
It keeps coming up. It'll continue to keep coming up because they've yet to give like the solid answer. They have, but they haven't, because there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of like, there is a lot lot of gray area here, because basically they don't want to give people an edge over other people. They also don't want you to lose immersion to the game by constantly having your eyes drawn to a minimap, which makes sense.
Yeah.
That said, it would not surprise me if we saw a minimap added to the game. Mainly because there's a large portion of people that actually want that.
Yeah, they did say that if they were going to do that, it would be an option that you could turn on and off, and that if they were going to do it, then they would want to do it properly.
Yeah, and there wouldn't possibly be any assets out there whatsoever that would possibly have anything to do with the minimap.
No, not at all.
Not even a few of them.
No.
So,
although
the kicker here is
you could say that does.
Yeah.
Although technically you could say that does actually look like the gel kind of the gem fitting kind of thing, actually. Technically.
It does. However, it's labeled minimap in the UI section.
Well, okay. All right then, fair enough.
So that said, it's not a guarantee. It's obviously potentially a test file that they may have tried a minimap in the past, and it might just be leftover additional stuff that was just left in the client from prior versions. So I make a joke out of that because it happens. That said, the rules when it comes to the minimap is that it can only read your location in the top corner if you have the thing there. Otherwise, there's also an API version that actually pulls your character location in a different way. It cannot do anything beyond that, i.e. it cannot source a third-party website to determine where OR nodes are, or any of the nodes in game, or create optimized routes or anything like that for you. Can't do anything that your compass doesn't already do for you. Now, here's where there's some rules lawyering that they've left open. Where what happens if I manually make a chart of where every node is in the game, and put little buttons on an overview that are like, I want to look for all of the ores, and it leaves up all of the ores on it. If I go through and do that manually, and it's a file on my computer and not a third-party website, is that breaking the rule? We don't know.
I don't know.
It's not clear based on their description.
No, they did go into some kind of detail with regards to, what the minimap could potentially show with regards to the information that you get, like just generally in game, with the compass, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is that aspect of it, and obviously for that you have to make sure that that the various different things that are exposed on the compass come up when are only come up because you've reached that particular point in your trade skill, in your harvesting skills and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which is kind of an interesting bar to set. That said, we've talked about the minimap a number of times. If you want to see more content on that, check out our prior shows. They're all available on our YouTube page, and feel free to hit subscribe over there as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive away from minimaps because it's been done to death by everyone and their mother, and we still have like half of this to go. So let's talk about company concerns. One of the key elements to New World is players' ability to change the world. To achieve that, we give players a lot of power to form organizations, take over territories, manage a town, or manage a town's policies, but with that comes the risk that bad actors will use that power to self-gain. We've tried to provide guardrails to ensure that those bad actors don't create too much of a loss. Cap player coin to 500k, ability to set withdrawal limits for lower ranks, etc. But there has been a few cases of it happening recently. In the future, we'd like to give players more information, like a company ledger, and more ways to control access, like the ability to choose company permissions. This should give players better tools to find and avert loss. But these changes are lower priority at the moment versus some of our larger initiatives, which makes total sense. That said, it's really a dick move if you manage an organization, build up their wallet, and then take all their money. Like, don't do that. I also think it would be really funny if if the ledger that they plan on adding for the company wallets, if it backdated. so you could see all of the transgressions of your leadership when they thought no one was looking.
That would be amazing if they did that. It would be so good.
That would be quite comical.
I know of a particular company that would be hilarious to go through.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. Moving right along. Combat responsiveness. So this has been a huge topic, and they actually did an entire another post on this. We're not going to cover all of it, but I do want to talk about it. One of the biggest complaints that has come forward is that when you go to switch weapons in combat, very frequently it will fail to switch weapons, but your UI will straight up lie to you and say, yes, you absolutely have your fire staff out, when you definitely have your ice gauntlet out. Very different things. The abilities still trigger for the other weapon, despite the UI showing the wrong weapon out.
So I think I think for some weapons it's a little better than that, like a little bit more capable of doing that. But like I've definitely found out that when I'm switching between say lifestaff or great axe kind of thing, like I don't get great axe kind of abilities on my lifestaff. I don't get lifestaff abilities on my great axe as such. But I do definitely have to be laser focused on my character when I am switching weapons, just to absolutely make sure that it has actually switched weapons.
Did it actually switch weapons? Because what your character model is doing and what your UI is saying your character model is doing are two different things. Like that's one of the things that they're aiming
model
to
is
fix.
actually doing.
Yeah,
I tend to go with what my character model is doing, because that seems to be the most accurate, the one that seems to be correct for whatever reason.
Yes. It can be difficult in the middle of a fight, or like very frustrating when it's like, hey, I clearly hit the button to switch weapons, and I really needed my Entomb on my ice gauntlet to go off, and it didn't switch, and I've still got my fire staff out, and it's like, that's not what I wanted to be using.
I'm not doing anything because I don't have any mana, because it didn't switch over and I'm not in my entomb, like rapidly getting mana. Like,
absolutely. So those were some of the big ones. There's also dodge cancel windows and some of the animation cancel ability type stuff where you could rapid fire life staffs and fire staffs and ice gauntlets by triggering abilities with mouse macros that, like, it was bad. Like, you basically got a machine gun for a little while.
Yeah, the combat responsive dev blog, like the separate one, does go into, does seem to make it clear that Amazon Games does appreciate that they want some types of animation canceling to be part of the the combat mechanics, but definitely certain other types of animation canceling to being a bug and being unintended behavior. For example, that rapid fire sort of animation canceling is one of the ones that I think is very much something that is unintended.
Oh, absolutely. So obviously they've got an entire dev blog on that. Feel free to go check out the website for that. We got even more, because this just keeps going and going and going and going. So weapon balance changes. There is a comprehensive list of updates on the forums, currently active on the PTR, that they're actively seeking feedback for all of the different weapons. So please go try them out, go PvP with each other, go play Outpost Rush. On the PTR, you can literally set yourself up with a level 60 character right away. This means you can get in straight to Outpost Rush and try out the new weapons, try out all that kind of stuff. You can get a whole bunch of gear right off the break as well, because it just gives you equipment. Go try it out. Trust me, it's worth it. Also, if you want your input to be heard, make sure that it's the forums. That's actually a really important thing. They read the forums. They do a lot of analytics on their forums. Is Void Bent still worth it? Absolutely.
Yes. I'm fairly certain that it will still be worth it.
Yes. So let's continue past this even, because we've literally got like.
There's not a lot left, but there's still some.
Yeah, there's still a decent chunk left here. So weapon and armor perks.
But it's good shit.
Yes.
There's
it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. Weapon and armor.
This
perks.
is actually this is quite important, because there's still a lot of armor perks and weapon perks and stuff that are broken or not behaving like they should be.
One of the comical things was the resilience perk went from being valuable to being very valuable just because of how the meta was playing out. Where like the resilience perk was trying to initially it was bugged, and it was reducing all damage instead of just critical damage. Well, in the process, mages were all going full crit, because that's their best way of killing people, was full crit. Well, now resilience is the best perk to have against them, because they went full crit, and resilience is crit reducing damage. So it's kind of comical how those two metas ended up clashing together, even after the hard nerf of resilience just going back to what it was supposed to be doing to begin with.
So that's interesting as well.
There are still some issues with things like gems, where, for instance, like the Carnelian gems, the tier 2 gem seems to do more than some of the other ones. In terms of taunting, there's a couple of like T2 items and gear that appear to be odd, per se.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So they seem to scale in a very strange way in PvP. That said, Public Test Realm totally worth checking out. The Void Gauntlet is on the public test client, so that's one of those things that if you want to try it, go leave your feedback, talk about it, try it in a variety of different ways, variety of different setups. Don't just pick one setup and be like, it doesn't do everything that I ever dreamed of. Maybe you should try the other tree. You know, it's got multiple abilities, and you got to kind of play with it to see what's what. Most of the duped items have been removed from the game.
Yeah, as well as what's it, like 98% of the items, and also the duped gold as well, duped coin. So one of the interesting things that I think when the November update kind of hits, like there's going to be obviously a whole bunch of people who are going to want to try, or will end up trying the and going out and like trying to cause havoc with the Void Gauntlet. I kind of feel in that kind of sense that the Amethyst gens are going to be like shooting up in price. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Sorry, I'm just seeing how the event thing works on Discord.
Right, okay.
Kind of cool. First time I've tried it. Sorry, I got distracted easily apparently here. I'm excited for the Void Gauntlet. It's a good weapon. It's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty powerful when it comes out. I think shortly after it's going to get a nerf. It should be fun in almost all types of PvP.
Yeah, if you're one of those sort of people who want to use the Void Gauntlet kind of like up close sort of thing, like you're going to be wanting to be more into the Annihilation tree. If you're going to be using it like, you know, as a sort of to complement, say, a lifestyle, for example, and you can be sort of like a medium range kind of you know, dropping heals and that kind of stuff, then you're going to be wanting to be going more into the decay tree. But as with all weapon masteries and you know, passives and actives, like there are passives on both sides of the trees that kind of do complement either side. So you know, you kind of want to look into both all of the passives in the decay and the annihilation tree and figure out like which ones you kind of feel are going to be beneficial to whichever way that you're setting up your void gauntlet. So have a play, have a try around. It's definitely worth it.
Absolutely. So it's for even if you're just logging in to just take a look at what it does, know what its abilities are, know what they look like. Because from a PvP perspective, knowing what the ability looks like is half the battle. You know.
Yeah.
Because if you can identify, okay, hey, the build up for the sweeping attack on the spear is, you know, starts like this, being able to dodge away from it becomes a possibility if you know what it looks like.
If you know what that orb of decay looks like, or when it ramps up and just starts going to you, like just starts, like, you know what to do to avoid it, and you have the time to be able to avoid it. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Exactly. One of the things I want to talk about before we move on to the next part here is that we obviously are not devs. We do this, you know, as a side gig, you know, side hustle type deal that we enjoy because we like giving the content to you guys. So if you are enjoying the show, if you enjoy the content that you're receiving, if you like getting getting the updates, and you're interested in future shows, please consider hitting the follow button or the subscribe button. It honest to God helps us out quite a bit. Most of the stuff that you see on stream in terms of our alerts, our layouts, our even the cameras and equipment that we use, much if not all of this was paid for by the stream and or our Patreons and and all of that. So please consider following for future content, guys. We really do appreciate it, and we do see all of the follows coming in. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
It really does mean a lot to us, and like it is cool to run something this large. And thank you for the subs, Spy. Very, very cool.
Yeah, strong force.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So had to do that. Like, it's one of those things that, like, I don't like asking for money. I don't like because but if we don't mention it,
but we
it doesn't
do
happen.
like to.
And
Yeah, but the thing is, we're very much appreciative when it
yes.
does happen. So
Yes.
thank you.
And of course, like, we really appreciate the follows, because that follow enables you to get the message that, hey, we're going live next time. Which we go live consistently every Tuesday at 6:00 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays. We're also going to be starting up on YouTube, doing some live content there. It's going to be a little bit more experimental, and we're going to be trying some interesting stuff.
Yeah, we're also cleaning up and trying to pretty up some of the content that we do over here, like onto there. So it's not just like massive singular long form kind of content, but like broken up a little bit, so it's a little bit more watch friendly, as it were.
So yeah.
Should we go into crafting and gathering? Because
yes.
I think
so.
there is that
crafting and
gathering.
Yes. Yeah. So some of the rare materials needed for crafting legendary items are dropping at a very low rate. This includes beeswax, runic thread, etched handguards, embossed wrapping, and empowered counterbalance. We have an upcoming patch that'll address most of these items, and beeswax will be addressed in a later update. That's actually really important.
I've definitely heard of some of those things. People saying that they literally can't find anywhere kind of thing. So I think in terms of rarity, it's probably the most ultra rare drop you'll ever find. There's probably somebody with one and they don't even realize what it's worth. They just have it in their inventory because it's somehow randomly dropped when they're doing something. But it's one of those things that are critical for creating some super high level items in crafting, and it seems like they almost don't exist in the game right now. And so those things are just essentially uncraftable in any way, shape, or form. And it really sucks when you really want to craft a certain thing and you try your hardest to find all the various different pieces, and you're getting all the luck gear that you can in order to, and going through chest after chest after chest, or chopping down tree after tree, or smashing rock after rock, and you're just not finding it, right? It gets endlessly frustrating in that regard, and so thankfully Amazon Games have actually, obviously, in saying this, in saying what they said on this last bit of the dev blog, that they are aware of it and they are going to change it and make sure that it's in the game. So that's good. There are other issues with regards to crafting and gathering that I have a personal issue with. Like, there's certain aspects, certain sort of things with regards to the crafting progression and the gathering progressions and that kind of stuff that I kind of feel should be changed in certain ways. But yeah, those are going to go into feedback onto the forums. But yeah.
Yep. Additionally, they're going to be changing. They've identified that there is a problem with the Arcana skill and the way that one of the materials is applying are not applying gear score bonuses. They're going to be fixing this in an upcoming patch, so you should be able to reach level 600 gear score on alchemy-based items or Arcana-based items. So that's going to be a big one. That's going to help get some very high-level gear into the hands of people who don't want to grind for it, or you're going to be able to bring stuff to a crafter to be able to get some really good stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
So I want to address the last comment in chat here. Being a part of the creator program for over a year does nothing. Have you reached out to them? I'm going to openly ask that question.
I mean, I've been in sort of creator programs for other games, and NWO's creator program is actually pretty good in terms of
Because
in
like,
terms of like,
although I realize that this is coming from the perspective of somebody who's currently streaming to a channel of 2,279 viewers, but when we've been treated the exact same by Amazon since we were streaming to 20 people. Like, you know, you gotta reach out to them. You gotta ask them. The biggest thing is you gotta ask them for stuff that they can actually do. A lot of times they drop the content creator kit stuff, which is, you know, good content to have. I would like it if they did a little bit more than that, but you know, reaching out to them with issues, like I reached out to them about the fishing skin that was supposed to start dropping today and got an answer almost immediately. You know,
if there's the other kind of things, like if there's stuff that's in that you were hoping there was going to be in the content creator sort of like,
if you're asking the content creator guys to review your ban, that's not the right. That's like asking like your baker to go cut your hair, like. You know,
you don't want to do it.
It's just not the right guy. Like, yeah, you know, like it's. You got to remember there were, you know, a few hundred people working on this. You know,
yeah.
Like if you're going to them with creator related issues,
they'll be more than happy to you know, to work and to communicate with you. But if you're entirely going the you know, to the wrong department for the wrong kind of area for what you're asking, then then they're not really going to respond to you.
Like the reason I'm jumping on this one is because like the content creator program has actually done a lot for us in terms of like getting us visuals. You know, a lot of the stuff that you see on stream comes from the content creator pack. You know, like the transitions between scenes, our starting soon screen, you know, some of that kind of stuff, you know, is actually sizable support. You know, but don't conflate the creator program with their moderation team. Those are two very different groups, and likely don't talk all that much. So, yeah. There is a ban appeals process, and I know that this is telling people stuff they already know, but like there is a ban appeals process. It's not running smoothly. I won't defend that because there's nothing to defend. Like, you know, and
I mean, they only just did a whole
it's not my job to
like,
defend anything. You know.
Yeah, they did just do a round of bans. Like, I don't know whether people were unfortunately caught in them sort of thing, you know, unfairly. But like, yeah, the thing is, you know, as with all the things that have to be reviewed by actual people, you know, that generally tends to incur a queue of some form. And yeah, I know, like if you feel like you have, like it's been far too long and you feel like you've slipped between the cracks in terms of the you know, the response time and all that kind of stuff, then I mean, it probably would be a good idea to poke somebody about, like, you know, hey, I put in a request for a review for this and it hasn't been touched for like 2 weeks. Then yeah, like, you know, that's legit. I think that's completely fine, understandable thing to complain about or to poke them about.
So here's the thing. In terms of automated bans, the only automated ban that's happening is an easy anti-cheat. It's the only automated one out there. Everything else is being manually reviewed. And I know that people will dispute that all they want, but like, simply put, that's not the hill that any team would want to die on in terms of, you know, in terms of like a moderation team. Like, it's not the one to die on. You know, it's the bans that are being dished out, almost all of them are unless it's literally related to them doing the like mass bans for people doing the exploits and stuff like that. You know, they're still identifying those names by a physical person reviewing the data. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What up, sniper named G? Nice to see you in the chat. Yeah, like that's the thing. Yeah, it's gonna take time, and you know there's always that likelihood that people end up falling through the cracks. So like, yeah, just you know, a customary and you know, you don't have to be angry about it. You don't have to be, you know, like you don't have to, you know, say nasty words and stuff, like call them various different things. Like just let them know, like, you know, it's been a week, it's been 2 weeks. I'm not sure how long these things take, but it feels like I may have been, you know, my appeal has been missed in some way, shape, or form. But you know, so an update on this would be really good. Yeah, like,
you know, like I can tell you, like the process falls behind at times. You know, like we run into the same problems with the subreddit. You know, it's the exact same issues where, you know, something huge and controversial happens, and all of a sudden there's, you know, 3,500 things that have been reported. You know, and to have our, you know, even if we had all of our mods on at all times, 3,500 things to go through to review manually isn't going to happen. Like, you know, it's going to take us several days to burn through that. You know, so like this is why, like, the subreddit, we actually get in trouble frequently because people will complain that, hey, my post was removed. Well, yeah, it was removed and flagged by an auto mod because it contained something that we're looking for, that has triggered issues in the past. You know,
and that's one of
a lot of times, like we had one that had like a survey in it, and they were like, if you have a problem with this email. Well, one of the things we don't want is people doxing. So anytime something looks like an email, we flag it for manual review.
Yeah, and that's what auto mods are good for. Like, you know, in terms of finding something that could potentially be, you know, something that you want to make sure it doesn't go out straight away, and just like hold it back for review. Yeah.
Now the other side of this is there are mistakes. We make mistakes. Like, and I'm sure that this carries over to the Amazon, you know, moderation team as well. They make mistakes too. If it's a manual process, like they say it is, then it's prone to manual error. It's also prone to transitional error. So, like, let's say I'm in a bad mood. I've just reviewed, you know, 16 comments in a row that are just the worst shit on the internet, and you know, I get to yours, and yours is marginal, but because the last 16 have me in a mood that's like, fuck people, like, you know,
in general,
I might unfairly hit that last one harder than I should, or in some instances, because not all mobile apps are made the same, I might be trying to ban one person, but the mobile app accidentally bans the person who started the thread that the comment was in instead of the person who made the comment. Which, like, then we get a mod mail message that's like, what the hell, why did I get banned? You know, and like and then it's this fair conversation where we're sitting there going, I haven't the faintest clue. But you know, that kind of thing happens, and they're most people assume that it's this, you know, this craziness. It doesn't excuse the fact that their appeals process is terrible. Like, I sympathize with you on that. Their appeals process needs major work. In fact, we've even seen a position that they are hiring that is literally there to help coordinate between their moderation teams and their other public-facing teams, so that the Amazon support people and the moderation teams and the, you know, everybody is working together off the same sheet of music. That's literally the job description that we saw.
Yeah.
It's probably still up, and that as a job would probably suck because everything is on you. Like, yeah, because it's clear that everybody's. It's very clear that whole process, the moderation team, the support team, the Twitter group, all of them are playing off completely different sheets of music, and they need to be playing the same song at least. And that's gotten them into a lot of trouble. So I don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to sugarcoat that in the slightest. Their appeals process is bad right now, and it needs work. Yeah.
It's one of those things where, innocents do get caught up with it. People do get caught in the appeals process and stuff, and it's just not a good time.
Yeah. So that is really kind of a big one, and I feel for people who legitimately are trying to appeal their stuff. That said, there are also a number of people who the other side of this is you're not told why you're being banned. You get a 2-word reason. You were banned for abusive behavior. Well, okay, what the hell does that mean?
I mean, I think
what did I say?
They do want to actively, they do want to actively work to sort of improve that system though. I do recall, some aspect of the I can't remember what it was. I can't remember where it was. It was definitely I think it was in one of the major sort of updates, one of the major patches where they listed about the fact that yes, we understand that there are ban appeals going on, and people are confused and concerned as to why they were banned, etc., etc. And we do want to increase the people's understanding as to why they got banned.
Hey, thanks for the sub.
Which terms of conditions they apparently violated and stuff like that. Cheers, Mister. But yeah, I don't know whether that's been implemented yet. I don't think it has. I don't regularly go around doing things to get myself banned. I'm sure there's people out there who very much in the same way as me don't do things that get them banned, but out there, unfortunately, for whatever reason, end up getting, accidentally becoming a false positive and getting caught in a ban process. Yeah. I just hope people are getting a little bit more information than they used to.
My hope is that my hope is that they increase the visibility on why the bans are actually happening. Showcase, hey, here's our process, and that they get everybody on the same consistent. Here's what you say to this person who's having X problem. Give them a script. If they are being banned for abusive behavior, have the conversation with them based on their chat history. Here is the things that were flagged and why we banned you. Give them the context of what is inappropriate. Because I've had conversations on the subreddit with people who just don't understand that they've crossed a line, and it's not only did they cross the line, but they hop, skip, jumped, and fucking took a rocket car the rest of the way over.
When they backflipped over the line into the seat of the rocket ship and just fucking flew from there to the moon.
But yeah. Now, here's the other thing. Concurrent players does not equal total players.
No.
Putting that out there. Also, there have been several other major game launches that are pulling people away. That's another note. Additionally,
Battlefield being one of them.
In just about every game that comes out, there is a cycle of people coming in at launch, then playing and burning their way to the end game content, and then leaving to play other games until new content is released. Then they come back and etc.
Yeah, you see an uptick and a downtick. It's happens in waves.
Happens in waves. Now, New World has had a rough time. There's no hiding. They've obviously people there is going to be a larger number than most games out there that have sat there and went, you know what? I'm going to shelve this, and I'll come back later when all the bugs are fixed.
Yeah.
And I think that that's fair.
I did that with Cyberpunk. Like, I tried it a few times. It was so full of bugs, it didn't work. It didn't work on my system for a little while. Like, you had so many different bugs. Like, everybody knows the issues that Cyberpunk had, right? I still have that game like sitting over there, and I haven't installed it yet. Like, I probably should, because it's probably like the bug free now. But like, I've yet to sort of go like, I should probably install that. Like, I'll probably try it now, but like, it's been a while.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing with this though. So, the difference in between New World and most other MMOs when it comes to losing the player base, as some people would like to put it, is that there's no cost for them to come back. When you lose a WoW player, you're losing the subscription. When you lose an EVE player, you're losing 5 accounts worth of subscriptions, because it's no longer one person anymore. This is like one person is like 15 accounts, like, because you're in the end game. Like you're losing the sub versus New World for their $40 or $50. They can come back at any time, at any point, and go, hey, here's the new content. Start playing right away. There's not a money thing preventing from coming back, which is important.
You don't have to be like, it's not a case of like, I can go and try the new content, but it is going to cost me, $15 to get back in, or $10 to get back in, or $20 to get back in. Like, it's like, it's New World. I can just jump in. Like, I don't have to. There's no paywall for me to jump over. Like, I can just jump in and try it out. Good.
Second, I have to identify buses.
Well, at least it isn't the start of the show this time. All right.
So, putting this out there, and before people go off on stuff and the side, it's terrible, the game's dead, look at how many people are playing. Let's put this in perspective. New World is currently the 4th most played game right now on Steam. It is the fourth most concurrent players currently playing the game on all of Steam.
Beating Apex Legends, it's beating Rust, it's beating Grand Theft Auto 5, it's beating Warframe,
it's beating Destiny 2, it's beating, there's a lot of big name games on here that it is beating. Now, some of these have alternative launchers, so it's not fair to count them entirely. So like Final Fantasy 14, I believe, actually has an external launcher and stuff like that. But to say that it is a dead game is just wrong. I'm sorry, but like, if that's your take, you're wrong. There are currently 135,000 people who disagree with you at this moment. Like, yeah. Now, here's the thing. I don't disagree that, yes, we have had a massive player loss. Like, there's a lot of people that have stepped away. But, as I stated, the bar for them coming back is so much lower than other games. Absolutely so much lower than other games. You don't quit World of Warcraft and then be like, I'm gonna kind of dip my feet back in. You don't quit EVE and then come back in. Like,
Tazbag in chat actually has a good point. CS:GO is a good comparison because it's has a single launcher. It's obviously a Steam game from Valve, and New World currently has half the amount of players, which is actually pretty fucking decent.
Like that is a. The numbers speak for themselves. Now, could it be better? Yes. Do they have fixes that they need to implement? Absolutely. Are they going to be able to recover all the way up to 900,000 like they did on launch? There is literally no way to answer that question. We can hope. Like, I think that'd be phenomenal for the game. Do I think it's likely to happen? No. Like, you know, like, I deal with statistics for a day-to-day thing. Like, I don't think it's likely for them to recover 900,000 concurrent players. But if they do, great. Because that means we got a quality game out of it. We get we obviously at that point we would have more new content and more new stuff to do, and that's what everybody wants. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think
and here's the thing: there is no telling what happens when they release new content. Because like there are people who come back to World of Warcraft when they release a major update, where they're releasing a major new expansion. There are people that go back to it and pay for that. New World doesn't have that. So when they launch this major update here coming in November, there's no telling what's going to happen to the player count. It could go through the roof and people could be like, oh, hey, they fixed all the duping issues. They fixed all this, let's hope that's the case. But
oh, for sure.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say, yes, they have lost a large amount of the concurrent users. But we also don't know what their active per day are. Like, are people logging in for a couple hours that were logging in for, 14 hours on launch? We don't know.
And the thing is, like, the other thing is, it can sometimes feel like when you're jumping into New World, it can sometimes feel dead because, we had such a large influx of players, and the amount of available servers was expanded to such a degree that now that there's a much fewer kind of players playing it, the worlds feel a lot more sparse in terms of player base, because that player base was spread so wide to so many different servers. So yeah, like but that's only when AGS start kind of doing server mergers and that kind of stuff, and people start utilizing their their server transfers and stuff like that a little bit more a little bit more intelligently, it'll start feeling a lot better. Like, honestly, it will start feeling a lot better. And obviously there's lots of people who are at 60 who may not appreciate very grindy, repetitive content. They're literally just waiting for new interesting content. That's all they're waiting for.
Yes. Sorry, I'm checking in on something here. So with that, I think we've hit just about everything that we could hit with this show. We love having this conversation with you guys. If you want to keep this conversation going, please join us in the Discord. We love chatting with people. Like, obviously we like talking about New World. We just talked for 3 hours about it live on stream, and we're gonna pop into Discord and keep talking with with people for the next until we go to sleep.
However long. Like, I mean, it's 2 a.m. over here, but I'm still going to jump into chat about New World and all other sorts of different things with you guys and with the regulars and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
absolutely. So one of the things I want to do before we wrap things up, if you haven't, please hit that follow button. That way we're going live next time. We're going live 6 o'clock Eastern time, Tuesday nights, consistently. We will be on with the pre-show, and then an hour later we actually start the show. We appreciate you guys, we really do. And sometimes you're going to agree with us, sometimes you're not going to agree with us, and the important part is that we're having the discussion, and that's what we love. So with that, simply put, thank you all. I want to thank our Patreons. I want to thank our subscribers. I want to thank everyone. You guys are awesome. You're the reason we do this. And with that, we will see you all in the New World.